For Comedy Hype News, I'm Dom Smith. Dave Chappelle, The Age of Spin, live at the Hollywood Palladium was filmed in March 2016 and released a year later on March 21st, 2017, along with another special deep in the heart of Texas. These were the first two specials out of an original 3 that were announced. This was Chappelle's first stand-up special in 12 and a half years. The only other time we got to see him was here on YouTube via bootleg cell phone videos. The deal was reportedly worth $60 million, $20 million per special. At the time, Netflix had just started to make a real push for stand-up comedy. A month before they signed Chappelle, they secured Chris Rock for a pair of stand-up specials, also valued at $20 million apiece. Not everyone signs these kind of contracts, my loves. It was extremely fitting for Chappelle to film his big comeback special at the Hollywood Palladium. 25 years before Chappelle filmed this special, Richard Pryor filmed Live on the Sunset Strip in the exact same venue. Live on the Sunset Strip was Pryor's comeback special after he set himself on fire. The special is centered around the 4 times Chappelle met O.J. Simpson. In between, he talks about the time he bombed in Detroit after smoking too much weed, taking his son to a Kevin Hart concert, and he discussed the legacy of Bill Cosby. Here's why Dave Chappelle's He Rapes But He Saves is genius. The joke actually starts off with the comedian at the Academy Awards the year Chris Rock hosted. Backstage, Chappelle says he was approached by 2 producers who asked him if he had any movie ideas he'd like to pursue. He pitches a pair of superhero movies, one that includes a superhero who can't access his powers unless he touches a woman's vagina.
Not a long touch, just a couple of pats.
The problem is the hero is not a handsome man, and he's often short on cash. So whenever trouble breaks out, he has to walk around and convince women to let him touch their vaginas.
So he rapes them. That's the dilemma for the audience, because he rapes, but he saves a lot of lives. And he saves way more than he rapes, and he only rapes to save. But he does rape.
At first, it just seems like a silly throwaway joke that's rooted in Chappelle's fame, but it's a setup to a greater joke that will come later. He then tells multiple different stories before circling back. Chappelle points out that this generation is determined to be angry. At first, black people were the only ones that were mad, but eventually, everyone else joined in. Where did this start? The Second World War, where women joined the workforce in large numbers? He also speaks on John F. Kennedy's assassination, which led to 7 more major assassinations in the 1960s. Where is Chappelle going with this?
The 70s were a wild era, and while all this was going on, Bill Cosby raped 54 people.
The earliest incidents of Bill Cosby's sexual assault cases date back to the 1960s, with the first one allegedly taking place in 1965, spanning all the way till 2008 in an incident with a woman at the Playboy Mansion.
Holy shit, that's a lot of rapes, man. This guy's putting up real numbers. He's like the Steph Curry of rape. He had raped 30 less people. That's still 24 rapes.
Chappelle would remind the audience that each rape has 8 hours of sleep in it, which totals out to over 400 hours of rape.
It only takes 65 hours to get a pilot's license. If rapes were aircrafts, this nigga's Top Gun for sure.
Chappelle tells the story of a show he had one time where he joked about Bill Cosby for about 25 minutes. One white man in the crowd had had enough and started heckling Chappelle, calling him names. He assured her that he is in fact a feminist. He, along with the other men in the audience, have mothers, daughters, sisters, and wives, and they don't want to see anyone held back.
Didn't want to believe it. At first, I didn't believe it. I was like, man, these people are obviously trying to destroy Dr. Cosby's rich legacy. Even 34 allegations into it, I was still like, man, probably only raped 10 or 11 of those people.
Here, Chappelle briefly addresses the many conspiracy theories surrounding Cosby and some other famous black men. Eddie Griffin said the same thing in an interview on Vlad TV. There is a systematic effort to destroy every black male entertainer's image. They want us all to have an asterisk by our name. Kobe raped a white woman in Colorado. Dr. Cosby raped 37 and still counting. Nobody leaves this business clean. Michael Jackson f***ed little white children. Michael Jordan gambled. In 2017, the Hollywood Insider came forward alleging that Cosby was framed with rape allegations in order to prevent him from buying NBC. There have been reports of Cosby buying the network since the 90s, wanting to take control of the negative images television had been portraying of black people for decades. Although Cosby's interest in purchasing NBC was true, there is no credible evidence to support he was set up. Some find the allegations questionable because the woman waited such a long time before coming forward. But according to the New York Times, experts say a long delay in reporting of the incident or a foggy recall of events are the very hallmarks of sexual assault. Fuel was added to the conspiracy of Hollywood targeting powerful black men in April 2018 when it was revealed that Janice Dickinson fabricated passages in her memoir about her encounter with Cosby. How could one debunk rumors of Cosby being set up when information like this is being presented? Just days after Cosby was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison, the Los Angeles Times posted an article called Timeline, Bill Cosby, a 50-year chronicle of accusations and accomplishments. It gives an in-depth look at all the milestones in Cosby's career, as well as all the allegations. It literally spells out all the times he was raped and all the times he's saved. Chappelle let the audience know that he's never met Bill Cosby, therefore he's not defending him, but he's reminded them that he does have a valuable legacy that can't be thrown away. He was the first black man to win an Emmy in television. He won the award in 1966 and won the same award in 1967 and 1968. But according to the Los Angeles Times, by 1968, Cosby had 3 rapes and an unwanted advance under his belt. However, on the set of I Spy, the television show where Cosby won his Emmys, during that time in the 1960s, there were no black stuntmen. Back then, white stuntmen put on blackface and stood in for black actors. Bill Cosby refused to let a white man stand in for him, and that led to Calvin Brown becoming the first black stuntman in Hollywood. Brown founded the Black Stuntmen's Association in 1967. And guess who was a co-founder of the Black Stuntmen's Association? Eddie Smith. Eddie Smith's son was A.J. Johnson, who got his first job in the industry thanks to his father. Is it going too far to say that we know who A.J. Johnson is because of Bill Cosby? One of A.J. Johnson's first roles as a background extra was in 1990's House Party. By the time House Party was released in 1990, Bill Cosby had allegedly drugged, assaulted, or made unwanted advances on nearly 40 women. Of course, these allegations were yet to be made public, but this same year, The Cosby Show was tied with Roseanne as the #1 show on television. Not only was everyone watching the show, but he went so far as to hire a clinical psychologist because most of the show's writers were white. Cosby hired him because he was worried that they didn't have experiences with black families or black people. The man's name was Dr. Alvin Poussaint, and he was hired to read scripts and offer his professional guidance. Cosby wanted Poussaint to make sure the Huxtable children spoke in a believable way, not contrived one-liners. He wanted Cliff and Claire to give black people a model of a strong 2-parent household by forming a united front as parents, but still have romance and physical affection. Cosby wanted the smallest details of family life to reflect black reality, not a white writer's idea of black family. And that's all thanks to Cosby's hiring of Poussaint. I love Bill Cosby the entertainer. The Cosby Show showed phenomenal imagery when it came to the black family. Black male doctor marries black woman lawyer, both college educated and are raising college educated children. There was nothing like it on TV. Cosby and Poussaint knew the correlation between image and self-esteem. The more black children who saw black doctors, lawyers, and college attendees on TV would know that it's possible for them to also achieve that goal. Not only do these images affect how other children see them, but it affects how these black children see themselves.
But the reason I went to Hampton is because of Hillman. Like, it made me want to go to college.
Exactly.
In 1988, the second season of A Different World began airing on NBC. That show alone helped push a dramatic spike in applications and enrollments at historically black colleges and universities all across the country. That same year, Bill and Camille donated an astounding $20 million to Spelman, which still remains as the largest ever donation to an HBCU to this day. Cosby's got scholarships and he donated to the school he went to, Temple University. He's contributed to Berklee College of Music, Fisk University, among several others. Cosby didn't just want to help with the cost of college tuition, but he also wanted to make sure that students who received scholarship money would agree to teach in underprivileged regions following graduation. For his college donations and his reasoning behind those donations, he received the Bob Hope Humanitarian Award. According to Chappelle, when Martin Luther King stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and said he had a dream, he was speaking in a PA system that Bill Cosby paid for.
He rapes, but he saves. And he saves more than he rapes, but he probably does rape.
This is the genius of the joke. Dave's not defending Cosby's actions at all, just wrestling with the fact that although he's accused of some despicable things, his legacy, which has helped thousands directly, possibly millions indirectly, simply cannot be disregarded. It's the old adage of separating the art from the artist. Just because someone's good to you doesn't mean they're good for you. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Chappelle taps into this juxtaposition that's been revealed. Yes, we all can recognize that Cosby has positively impacted the lives of millions of individuals, but at the same time, we can also express empathy for the lives that were destroyed and negatively impacted by Cosby's actions as well. Comedian Gerard Carmichael met Bill Cosby in 2014 and had this to say. It's a place of categorizing that you have to take your mind to in order to not erase any good memory, but also being aware of the responsibility you have as a moral person. I look at meeting him and he was very kind to me, so I won't be disrespectful of that. But there are real serious accusations and you have to be respectful of those as well. The mind is torn, but I think both can coexist even within our own heart. Both Carmichael and Chappelle considered Bill Cosby a hero. Is that why Dave used a superhero as a metaphor when talking about his movie idea? In fact, Dave made the decision to become a stand-up comedian after reading a Bill Cosby article when he was 14. Not only did this man inspire them to take this career path, but he also broke down barriers that made it possible for them to have a career in the first place. Is it still okay to look at Bill Cosby as a hero for all his accomplishments and those he inspired? Can we look at the accomplishments separately from the allegations of sexual abuse? Is it okay to still love the work of Bill Cosby and at the same time express disappointment and disgust with what he's been accused of? Author Tara Moore wrote a blog post titled "On Disappointment with Your Heroes," which discusses what can happen when someone discovers the difference between the lives people live and the lives that they talk about. It can feel hypocritical and like a betrayal. It can cause us to question not only the hero, but the ideas that they stood for. Their brilliant work does not exactly come from them, rather their work comes through them. Their creative contribution is not born of their minds and hearts, but it has chosen them to be its conduit. Their work is totally authentic, but their personality is not caught up with it yet. Where we get into trouble is when we confuse admiring the work with admiring the person. They were probably assigned to be a conduit for the particular message they are delivering precisely because they are not living it easily or consistently. Their message is there to be their teacher as much as it's there to be yours. The joke works simply because it's a callback. A callback in comedy is a joke that references another joke told in the same set. It's also defined as an internal allusion, which is a literary device that gives structure to a piece of writing. That's how calculated the joke is. Callbacks are used in comedy to build a rapport with the audience and familiarize them with the topic being discussed. When a callback is used, it usually creates a feeling that's similar to an inside joke among friends. The majority of Dave's specials end in a callback, as they serve as the perfect mic-dropping moment. The use of a callback, along with Dave's logical and tactical rationalization of tapping into feelings we all have when it comes to seeing someone you love and admire, becomes so hated and despised in the public eye. Like Tara Moore said in her blog post, if you love someone's message, love their message, but please don't put them on a pedestal. Don't assume their behavior will always be aligned with their mission. The two things literally stem from different parts of them. And don't think you have to find a way to love all their personal decisions because you love their work. And that's why He Rapes But He Saves is genius. Stay up to date with the latest news in comedy by subscribing here to our YouTube channel, follow Comedy Hype across all social media, and look out for new content on our new streaming service at comedyhype.com. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Dom Smith.